We have a quorum, in fact, oh, no, we have one member missing, but we've got a quorum. First order of business is to approve the minutes of October 4th, 2023. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I so move to approve minutes.
There's Robert.
I'll second that.
And Bill Boardman second. Do we have any discussion? Anyone catch anything in the minutes? Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes?
Right.
And it's unanimous. All right, and we're going right into a discussion of the possibility of phasing in the project or looking at other alternatives. Since I published the amended agenda, we have been discussing even further with Mark and H.E. Callahan. And I think at this point, what we want to say is, well, I want to back up a little bit. And I want to say that as somebody who is totally new to the construction world, I have been so impressed with Steve Blatt and Associates, especially Mark, and actually the work of H.E. Callahan, contract manager and the owner, sitting down with us over and over again for lots of hours, going line by line over the budget and looking for any way possible to reduce costs of any sort. I would have been out of my mind if it weren't for Pete. He's been so good at pointing out things and bringing up issues to H.E. Callahan, wondering about this particular line item, wondering why we're seeing two of these over here. I'm just inventing something now, but literally finding things that we need to find. And I'm not sure, I'm just editorializing here for a minute, but I'm not sure that anybody in this room or in Zoom land, and for the most part on the island, is shocked that what we've discovered is that we cannot do this whole project for 3.5. That it's gone, construction costs have gone up. And that's where we are. We're when we get to the bottom line on all this, we're not able to do it for 3.5. And actually that number, thanks to Linda Gillies and her team, is actually 3.6 because we raised $100,000 over the 1.75 that we promised to do in fundraising. So where are we now? I'm going to follow a couple of notes I had so I don't forget anything. We approved 3.5 with the town. We raised more than 100,000, so we currently have 3.6 million for this project. If we want to go forward with the project or any part of the project, we need to make a decision soon because the construction season is going to start closing doors for what I understand to be realistic digging and building in the ground, etc. And so I think what we're looking at is a window quickly closing where we need to either take this to the town and ask for more funding, or we decide that we can't build both buildings, and we keep trying to bring the price below 3.6. And if we can bring it to by below 3.6 before the town meeting, then the town can also opt to build the health center, but not to the Up Island Public Safety Garage. So where we are with the numbers broadly, do you want to bring that up?
Sure. So right now it looks like the Callahan is still working over the numbers, and now that they've decided on who the subs are going to be, they're going to be talking with them about value engineering to try to get costs down for us. But right now, a stripped down version of the health center without the overnight accommodations would be about 3.6 million. The overnight accommodations and a few other things, striping on the parking area and some trim inside is another 180,000. which is 3.8 million. After that, we've got some contingency fees and, furnishings and whatnot, but hopefully we won't have to get into those too far. So already we're over the 3.6 that we have. On top of that, the Up Island Garage is at about $1 million. And we have some things that we've pulled out of that already, such as paving and aligning the road and the septic system and the well, stuff like that. So my figures on that come up to 1.5 million for a total of 5.5. We can back out things on the Up Island Garage for, saving the 500,000 and still do the project, but I guess we just have to come to a decision if we're gonna ask the town to fund, go the additional, cost on both projects, or ask to do just one and get the money for that one and hopefully do the complete health center project. Well,
we are still, like Pete was saying, the drop dead date for the guaranteed maximum price is November 1st. So between now and then, as Pete said, the H.E. Callahan is going back to, now that they have the bids in, and now they're picking their contractors for each piece of the operation. And the negotiation with each contractor will be to look at their line item budget and see where they can reduce costs. So, for instance, if there's too many trips over to the island to bring over fill or something like that, and H.E. Callahan's looking at the numbers with say Farley Brothers and says, why is this so high? Or if the wait time for bringing them over is too long and they're charging us for that, can we make deductions there that Farley Brothers can get behind, and that can become a part of a guaranteed maximum price. If I'm making sense to all of you smarter people than me. So we're not done. So this isn't necessarily the bottom line with what he just went over, but you can see it's likely to be over 3.6. And that's where we got to the point where we said, we need to come back to our committee and decide what do we want to tell the select board at this point. If there's a miracle that happens and they're able to get everything down below 3.6, then we can just have a great celebration at the town meeting and maybe elect a new person to replace Dr. Phil. But more likely is that we're going to have to say to them, the cost of these two buildings is over what we have, and we need to ask for more. And we'll know what the amount more we're asking for on November 1st. I wish I had that number, but I don't, and we can't have it until then.
The total is 5.5 for the two buildings
Right
right
now.
now.
everything.
So we're $2 million over.
Right now,
That's
Right now,
complete,
yeah.
though.
That's complete.
yeah, everything's complete,
Right.
yeah.
But the building, the health center, the new health center, Pete, is 3.6 million
Without the,
without the apartment,
Yeah.
without the striping.
Yeah.
And that's,
That's only two.
that's it, that's the bare,
yeah,
and we have that in
we're
our
close
budget.
to that,
We
yeah.
have that now.
Well, we have to add on architectural fees.
Oh, they go on top of
They
that.
go on top of that, so.
And that's
we're over.
130,000.
Is there anything else that needs to be added on?
There's contingency of 3%.
That's what I spent money.
It,
I say continue.
Right.
Over.
Right,
yeah,
I mean,
Yeah,
just
you gotta have that in there.
there was,
So that's another
Furnishing.
300,000, right?
with furnishings and,
Furnishing.
yeah.
but we have, well, let me just ask if, Mark, do you want to you have any comment on any of this?
I think you're doing fine. Do you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just comment. We've analyzed our scope of work and construction to the nth degree, and we have worked diligently with Peter, Lauren, and H.E. Callahan to come up with ideas to value engineer this, and working with, and we're still soliciting, as Lauren indicated, still soliciting ideas from subcontractors to come up with ideas. I think we'll have a better sense of where we are at the mid to end of this week to get to a closer number. But I as Lauren did mention, we are looking at the GMP process, and I think it was time to meet with everybody here and just update everyone and get a feel, get a sense of potential next steps. I'm here for support if you have questions architecturally and engineering wise. If you have questions that relate to some of these value engineering items, we tried to be faithful to the greatest extent possible to the original design. We didn't lop off major functions of the healthcare center, although we did talk about them. For instance, the ambulance canopy, could we take that off and build it later? Things like that. We considered some pretty heavy duty items, and some made sense, others didn't pass the straight face test in terms of ruining the character and design of the building. Sometimes it's easy to consider a value engineering item, other times, and it makes sense and there's no impact to building function or aesthetics and things like that. But we were very diligent. I don't think I've ever actually been through a value engineering process such as this in getting into detail and talking it over with a contractor and getting their input. And so I just want everybody to know that we've gone above and beyond to really to make this happen, and hopefully we can get there. Like I said, we'll have a better sense this week.
And, if we had the luxury, if we were in September right now, we could have just waited for the guaranteed maximum price. We wouldn't have had to rush this meeting and set up a select board meeting and set up a town meeting, but, the building season is closing in on us and we have to make a decision, and it seemed only right to take it to the town and let the decision be made there, whether we can raise the additional money or not.
I mean, the earliest you could have when the select board meet, Wednesday?
Yeah,
And then you can't have a town meeting for at least 2 weeks, right?
I think,
Well, it has to be posted a
Has to be
week, but we
posted.
have to get the agenda, then we have to figure out the financing. There's an article that the town's
They have
attorney
to
would
write,
write.
yeah.
Yeah,
I think we're looking at the 8th, 9th, or 10th of
you were thinking,
November.
cause I haven't heard back from her to ask. I haven't technically borrowed the 1.75 yet. So if they decided to go ahead and ask for more, I don't know if she would suggest a new article for the total amount, because we already have authorization for the 1.75. I have another article for if it's $1 million more, I'm not sure how that would work. I haven't heard back from her, but the select board has to think about it, and
Yeah.
tomorrow night Wednesday night they'll.
And this is, frankly, this is a terrible time to go to the town because of the reval,
Okay.
because of
Yeah,
sea level rise, East Shore Drive, nobody's in a good frame of mind to want to spend more money on the town. On the other hand, we can't not. If we have a guaranteed maximum price, that's a contract we sign. And if the amount is more than what we have permission from the town to spend, that's not a good look.
No.
So we can't do that. So we have to be prepared for the possibility that the likelihood, I should say, that the guaranteed maximum price is going to be over 3.6. And if it's over 3.6, we need to have the town's permission to raise more money. Or to
Yeah.
get more money.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you have to go to the town to ask, no matter what you do, you have to go to the town to say, we have, in the perfect world, we have 3.6, we can build a health center. Well, you also have to let us do that and take the Up Island Fire Station out of this contract. I mean, that's what we approved at the town meeting, right? So there's like 3 options. Right?
Yeah,
To not go ahead, one,
at all.
at all. 2, to raise $2 million from tax funds. 3, stay status quo, but we eliminate the Up Island Fire Barn if we can get this down to 3.6. Those would be like 3 questions the town would have to answer.
How much do we raise it for?
1.75.
So we're doubling it.
Yeah.
Potentially. I mean,
Yes, to be safe with the contingent.
it would be doubling what we're taxpayers.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, as bad as that sounds, most people I've talked to were surprised that we thought it would be built, all of that would be built for 3.6. 3.5,
I've always
actually.
been surprised at that,
Yeah.
way back in.
So bad on us for underestimating, well, we were basing it on estimate.
Advice on that.
Yeah,
I mean, we
yeah.
kept getting advice saying
Yeah.
that's what the cost was
Yeah.
per square foot.
Yeah,
I
But
mean,
then
so,
those are the architects.
Cost.
yeah, that's,
Yeah.
so, I mean,
So, I think I'm hearing what the committee would like us to do with the select board. And that is to bring those 3 options to the select board. They make the decision how they want to handle it with the town meeting. Is that a correct?
Yeah.
I mean, are we assuming that there's gonna be more donations? Or don't we have time for that?
No more.
I mean, we're out of time, so, I mean, we can't really match money again, right? I mean, there would be no
We
more
can't go at it
donations.
that way. We've already.
I mean, it's all taxpayers, which would just be another bond.
Or increasing the one we haven't gotten yet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We haven't actually borrowed the money yet.
1.75 to go to 3.75.
But to write a bond, it takes a period of time, right?
depending if we're gonna, I think it's too late for the bond bank, but we could go through Camden National
You
Bank.
gotta just get a loan from them and then you can bond it later to.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't even know what the interest difference would be. I
I
mean,
don't know,
that
he
would
couldn't
be,
tell me cause I said, I probably won't be needing this, and this is probably a month ago, until January. He thought rates would be better in January.
hopefully, but.
That was a
Surprised
month
still.
ago he said that.
I'm not too sure.
So if this whole project were not to happen, I mean, with these monies we have, how much is that gonna cost us, the town? We owe the architect money.
We've been paying him
Yeah.
all along, but I'm running off of, donations right now.
Okay. But you'd have to go give donations back, I would imagine.
I would think so.
we would.
Yeah.
That's bad.
We'd have to give donations back and,
That's all recorded, right? Where they came from, each person.
oh,
I
yeah.
have to tell you, one of my hearing aids is broken and I'm hearing very little of this conversation. So
okay.
I'm sorry. Was there a question directly to me?
Yeah.
There was a question of, you put it.
The question was, the donations, were they all recorded where they came from?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that's all record. So if they had
Oh,
to be
absolutely.
returned, wouldn't be
To the
a,
penny.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
We know exactly what we have. But my feeling is that people like this idea and they stretch from the big donors to the little donors. And to go back to them, I really think isn't feasible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
So you're following the text.
So,
Leave it to the people.
I mean, I want to give our guests opportunity to ask questions and comment, but I want to make sure we've finished our discussion. And we should probably have a motion, of some sort to take to the select board.
I guess one thing I'd like to say is that if we stick with just the health center.
Yeah.
And without the overnight accommodations, I think we still need to ask for some money.
I agree.
Do we want to just say, let's ask for the money to finish the health center? Put that as the option instead of without the overnight accommodation.
Yeah, the whole thing.
Go for the whole health center.
Well, I was wondering the same thing, Pete, and I was wondering, I think these numbers were crazy from the architect when he said we could do what we needed to do in the empty public safety building. But should we try to include that? Cause I don't know, what's my question is, what's that
That was
space,
100.
what's that, yeah, but 100's crazy there too.
Yeah.
But what's that space look like if we do nothing?
I talked to Fred about that and he can comment, he's here. And he can move into the current offices that would be vacated, so he would have an office, Mert would have an office. The office
Front
he,
desk would be there.
yeah, and there'd be an entrance, reception area.
Same one, we just, like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
everything would stay the same,
Yeah.
and there'd be a reception area, and he'd have one of the health center offices.
right, and down the line, we would need to do some renovation in there, internal, to give him more, training space. A wall was supposed to come down, but, we were
That's the
also.
only thing that would be different was if we could go in the way it is now, we could use that room for the evidence room. That's the, file room now. We could make a interview room in the small medical room, where they do the, examinations. The only thing that wouldn't get enlarged would be the, meeting room. And I suppose that could be done at any time because we're, we can go right in as is. We just need furnishings.
I hate meetings like this, this is not my idea of a fun time, that's for sure. But I do want to finish our discussion. I believe, Carrie, do you think you have what the three options are that Bill ran out in the minutes? You don't have to read them, I'm just,
Yeah, well, Jennifer's taking notes.
oh, right, I forgot. So Bill talked about three options that we take to the select board, and then the select board decides whether they go to the town. One is to only complete the health center, and complete it completely. In other words, include the overnight accommodation as a part of that cost. And ask for that difference between 3.6 and what that finishing it would be. One option is to do nothing. In other words, give back the donations, and basically pull the plug on the whole project. And the third thing is to ask for whatever full amount will be, and we'll know that November 1st. So that's probably in the $5,500,000 range. If we're lucky, it'll come down some from that. That's what I understand is the direction from this committee.
The only thing different was that Pete mentioned that if we just go with the health center completed, we need to ask for more tax dollars,
Yeah,
which we don't know what.
We don't know.
But assuming $300,000 or something to that,
I would think it would be
well,
somewhere
still have to
between
figure that
3
out.
and 5.
I mean,
Maybe go to 4 million,
I would figure the 3%, take it,
That's
get
right.
it, and
That's
then you
right.
can always put it back.
Exactly.
I mean,
whatever that means.
if you're gonna do that,
That's right.
you gotta.
You're gonna do it right, you gotta do it.
Mhm.
you think you have that Jennifer?
I think so,
And the select board will figure out the article and everything,
Right.
because they gotta write an article to do away with this first part, then rewrite.
And they can't do that until that November first, until they know numbers, really. I mean, I can't have the lawyer
Right,
do anything until.
Right,
so I mean, you've talked to Callahan and everything. I mean, is it possible that it's looking like it's gonna be too late to start this year? I mean, not yet. I mean, what's the absolute, I mean,
Middle of November.
that's the vote when the vote's gonna be.
Yeah, it's like a week away from the vote. But I think they're ready to mobilize.
Okay. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
There's no problem with it.
I mean, the first in is Farley, or whoever the earthwork, actually, the first in is a well. But, because you can't get to it after building a building.
They don't go well.
for the health center, well. The last time we talked to them, which was last Friday, they were
Bad as you get back this
Is that right?
Gets worse, much worse.
Hmm.
Preschool. Really, it's twice as bad as this water. So getting over that way, we're probably gonna run into some bad water.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
But it's just for fire suppression mainly, isn't it?
no, it's very domestic.
they're also gonna have a, water,
Soft treatment.
not a, what is that called, Mark, the, for fresh water in the building?
So
It's a filtration system.
Also,
Well, but per plumbing code, we're supposed to have a drinking fountain. To save a little bit of money, the state does allow you to use a bottled water system, like a little water, 5-gallon cooler type thing. So that's what we would price out. Does that answer your question?
yeah, I just didn't know if there was filter system figured into it.
We do
Like-
have a filtration system for the potable water and well.
Okay.
The elements of the health center building, for that matter, the Up Island Public Safety Garage, all of the detail, this includes everything, I mean, down to doorknobs and whether or not we have wainscoting, and I mean, it's very, very, very thorough. We aren't talking about a midway look at what's the costs are gonna be. We're looking at the very end costs. And we still, I would say there's still items in there. This is the amateur hour over here compared to Pete and Mark and some of the people, but it still looks as though there's ways in which it can be trimmed some, which is things like how many trips over with Phil, and there are cost savings that we can come up with. I mean, I think there's still room for cuts, but we're not gonna get down to 3.6.
Well, just to add on to that, Lauren, you're spot on, and there are things. Keep in mind, we're generating, or H.E. Callahan's generating a guaranteed maximum price. So that's high end. There are some allowances in there that are built in that may not come to fruition or be needed. For example, things that are unknown, and once we won't know until we get in the ground if we can use soils from one site as fill on another site, that type of thing. So there's chances that's a guaranteed maximum price. There are chances that we don't need all those funds and that you can get credits, and that's your money to spend or be returned to the town. But we've accounted for, and what H.E. Callahan's gonna be giving as a guaranteed maximum price is the price won't exceed whatever they quote you, but it can come down.
But we can't make it an assumption, we have to go with.
Right. Oh, no.
So here we are. Ladies and germs.
I would assume too that the select board will be asking for our recommendation.
Yes. So that's where we are with a motion to, I think we could form I think we could do one motion which allows for those three options. And that's the motion we put to the select board. Does that sound right to you, Bill?
Yeah, but I think what Pete's getting at is that you think that the select board wants to hear us with what one of those three we want? I agree. Yep.
You delay this thing till next fall?
Yeah.
I mean.
Delay it until next fall,
That way you guys can actually do homework and
Well, might not
people
know
can
choice.
find their contractors and stuff.
They've got contracts.
I don't know what happens to the current contract that we're going to be signing with H.E. Callahan. Because if we sign a contract, which I'm not, I mean, will they just wait until the spring and not need a contract to hold that, or how does that work?
Mark has something to say.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, so, in this market, it's, you're doing good if a contractor holds his price for more than 30 days. They're not gonna hold be able to hold any pricing for a year. And so they would probably have to rebid. It never gets less expensive. The cost of inflation per year is real and palatable. It will never get less expensive to build than right now. So me reading the tea leaves, they'd have to rebid it. And I don't know what the market's going to be like for material procurement or the labor market, but I don't see it improving terribly. So typically we see anywhere from 5 to 10% cost escalation per year. So it's possible to do that, but it's going to cost more.
Madam Chairperson, may I ask a question before you have your
Yes, hey, is this,
Bob Koshan?
Bob, yes, thank you.
I'm brand new to the island in June, and I am also a forensic engineer and have done a lot of construction work. So I agree with Mark's synopsis, very specific, very exactly. The question I have is, you're talking roughly $1.7 million or $1.8 million for a potential complete project with the fire building, I believe, if that's what I understood you saying, the difference. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. So in round numbers for talking, how much does that actually break down, and recognizing we've had the reevaluation of the properties and so forth, but how many families are affected and would effectively divide that number, that 1.7, are there? And how much does that actually come down to per family? If it's very difficult for any one of you sitting there to just say, well, where are we going to come up with 1.7 million or whatever the number is? But when you say, and again, I don't know how many families there are on the island that would be taxed for this, and how much would it go up, and would it be able to be processed over, let's say, a 5-year period? So every family wouldn't have to come up with the whole amount initially. Possibly a bond issue could be issued to cover the balance. This isn't going to be built in 1 month. It's going to take a while to build it. Does anyone know how many families there are on the island?
It doesn't have to do with families, it has to do with the town's assessed value, and it's gonna bring up what our tax requirement is every year, and whether it raises it by a mil, or it does a half a mil, I don't know. We don't look at it.
That's the question. That's the question. And it's a lot of money for overall, but it's not necessarily a lot of money on an individual basis.
Well, remember Vern did calculate.
Yeah, well-
Early on, we talked about, it depends on the valuation of your property.
Just changed, but before, I think
yeah.
it was 100 and something. It was gonna be each taxpayer, but back then, I think it was per year,
per
if I
year.
remember right. It was
Yeah.
100, I can't,
Cause it
remember,
probably,
Pete?
You know, I remember him saying what it was.
Yeah.
but I don't recall the number.
We did, when we brought it to the town initially to talk about the funding for these buildings, our town assessor did break it out to say, the median, I believe, for Islesboro was $350,000. And so this would increase their taxes by, I believe it was $26 a year, something like that that was, again, average overall. But I don't think we're in a position right now to come up with any kind of calculation, although I think by the time we get to the town presentation, we may be able to get something like that. We're just in a pickle here because of the closing down of the construction season. We have really no room to breathe. And the only thing we know is we're over the amount that the town has approved. So we have to take it back to the town. Between now and taking it to the town, we can do some of that research that you're talking about.
Well, my suggestion, and recognizing everyone's busy, is that number, if it's an extra $40 a year or $20 or $80, and it all makes a difference. But I recommend that you have that number, because if I was on the select board, I'd want to know that. And how much pain are our citizens going to have to receive for the overall benefit of having an additional fire protection in the northern end. I mean, I happen to live at Big Tree Lane. And my point is, if my house or the area got struck by lightning, my house would burn down. Only just because how long it takes to react. And if you have a northern facility, and now obviously there's more homes being built to the northern end. So for the benefit of the general community, you might want to be able to answer that question to the select board.
I agree, and I think we could be working on that. The select board meeting is Wednesday night. So we're gonna be bringing this to the select board in two days.
Right.
I thank you for your remarks, and I appreciate very much your input. I think you're spot on. We just need to get to those numbers. And I don't know how quickly we can do that, but we can do it, make it our best effort. I do want to get back to public comment, but
Thank
first,
you.
I think we should finish, thank you, sir. Finish our discussion and entertain a motion. Complicated motion that includes a recommendation. So, you want to attempt that, Bill?
I guess. I make a motion that. Well, no, actually, we don't need to make a motion to what we recommend to the select board. They're the ones that do that, right?
Yeah.
But I think that they're, like Pete said, they'll want to know what this committee wants to look at. And
It's kind of a little tough. I mean, we don't think the number's gonna change that much. What, I mean, maybe. I mean, what do you think? Percentage of the total number? If it's 5.5, I mean, do you think it's gonna drop 500,000? I mean, is there any guess? I mean, because we're playing with a number that's a lot of money to be trying to make decisions and not knowing.
We'll know that number by the time we take it to the town.
But we're going to the select board with a recommendation of not knowing exactly.
well, my personal recommendation, I'll throw it out there, is that we go and not build the Up Island Fire Station. That we completely do the health center and ask the town for $500,000 more. That would be my recommendation from this committee to ask the select board.
But I mean, we're not sure that will cover, are we?
We're not sure of that number, but it's.
Right.
It's very close to
Yeah.
that.
But that would cover the health center.
That's just the health center, yeah, that we, at this point,
Complete.
Yeah,
a completed health, that's right, our recommendation is that we do not build, at this point, we do not build the Up Island Fire Station. We do the health center and ask the town for
The additional
the
amount.
additional amount, whatever that number is,
Just in case.
just in case.
well, yeah, you need it.
Yeah.
You need some more.
But I think that the select board, when they write the warrant, they should have three different options, you know, scrap the project. Do my recommendation, if we vote that in, or do everything with an increase of $2.5 million. Those are, to me, I see that as the three options that would be on a ballot. Or,
I don't think that's a good idea.
Multiple choice ballot
You don't like
can be
that?
hard,
why?
Yeah.
because voting on them will,
Why?
We're not doing
Yeah,
right voting.
Right voting, right choice.
I mean, what is it gonna be, just yes or no?
Yeah, what do you, what option do you want, 1, 2, or 3?
Well, I think it's up to the, I don't think you're speaking.
No,
the select board,
I think it should be up to the select board to decide
yeah.
how to go forward. I mean, we're already gonna borrow 1.75. If they wanna add another 500,000 to that, and then we move it up to 2,250,000.
whatever we do, if we want to discard the Up Island Fire Station, we have to have permission from the town. The townspeople, to the legislative body, have to say, we voted to build this whole thing for $3.75 million or whatever it was.
What the select board will write that article to
But-
get it read, you know, whatever to.
Yeah, but whatever we do, we have to have permission from the legislative body to do it at this point. If we're gonna change what we originally built, whatever we originally voted on, we need to make that change from the
I have
legislative
to
body.
reread the warrant, but I think you're right.
But they can certainly prioritize this now that you're in here. It was a year ago, September, that we had the town meeting.
Wow.
I know. But I think people would appreciate the fact that we can go forward with the health center. That is the most important thing in my mind.
Yeah.
Fred, they can move in and use that building and be happy, that section, and that Up Island, maybe we can look for grants. We can have people who are now helping us to look for grants, actual.
That,
Jessica, no.
I didn't wanna inject any false sense of security, but there are possibilities for grants out there, and there is some money that we may get with this congressional grant that would, you know, help to infuse the health center project. But I think that's more reasonable than trying to get the money for the whole project.
One thought is we could ask the select board to have a vote on 2 votes, one on the health center, one on the Up Island garage. One with the health center, do you favor building this health center for $3.8 million? We'll have to add another, whatever, 500,000 to what we've already voted for. The second vote would be on the Up Island garage, do you favor building this? And it would have a number of
That's a good idea.
$1.5 million to do it.
We'll subtract 400 and whatever, yeah, allocated already.
Yeah. Everything's allocated to the health center,
That's a good way to go.
and then do the Up Island garage as if it's got no funding at all. Sure.
I'm just trying
Yeah.
to think about how that, what if you want neither? What if you
You
want to?
vote no on both.
Yeah, both, no, I'm both.
Well, it's gotten down to 2 questions instead of 3.
Yeah. But they wouldn't be necessarily competing or a multiple choice.
Uh-huh.
You'd be voting on each one separately. easy one would be the health center, that we've got the majority of the funding there. We're only gonna need to ask for, 500,000 more. The Up Island Garage, we're asking if you wanna spend the whole $1.5 million.
It's,
Yeah, I mean, you're spending, you need $1 million more.
yeah. I,
What about the donors? The donors, did they, when they donated money, that was for the Up Island Park too, right? The
Oh,
public
yes,
safety.
it was the
building.
package,
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
right.
the package
So-
deal, that was the,
How do you,
That probably should have said that.
yeah, I mean, you gotta figure, I mean, we got donors that have, put money towards that. So we can't say. I mean, I don't know how that gets played. I mean, I've never dealt with this part before, but I mean, they donated money for that Up Island Public Safety Building.
well, it was the
Whole
whole.
package.
the whole- Yeah,
Now, if we try to cut that out by the vote, I mean, how does that work?
if we can possibly not do that and keep it together, that would be the best.
well, I think this is the discussion with the select board. And
I don't know if they can answer that. I mean.
they can't
where does
answer it. I
the-
think they're gonna have to
I don't
decide.
know if that's from a lawyer or, I mean, where does, I mean, or you go back or your board or something. I mean, we can't just make decisions because we're playing with somebody else's money, not the town's, it's personal donations too.
Right.
But I think if I'm following everything that's being commented here, I would say we have to go back and say, we either have to fund the entire project, which means quite a large additional amount of money, or we have to give the money back to the benefactors and shut down the project. That's what I'm hearing.
I don't know if that's exactly what I'm saying, but I mean, we gotta figure something out on that end, on the donation side. I mean, we gotta know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, the donors make a decision, and you contact them and.
Yeah, but I mean, that's gonna be forever. You got so many different donors. I don't even know how you start. Unless you just send out a mass, I don't know. That's your department.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. But I just wanna make sure they're happy too. I mean,
Well, you're right to make sure that.
Yeah.
And Linda, did they specify which project when they donated?
In some cases, but very rarely.
So
People like the idea of the package deal.
Yeah,
And that really made sense to them. And maybe one or two said, I'd like this to go to the health center, but that was extremely rare.
complicated.
Very
It
complicated.
is. It's not.
Well, that being said, then I think we've got to go for everything.
Or nothing.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, I know.
And try to get, nail down what the impact will be on the taxpayers, which is what, Robert's point is.
Yes,
We did that for the first go round. So,
I mean. When the numbers come out next week, or we have better numbers, is anybody allowed to look at them?
we have,
I mean, I'm just curious how that building Up Island, when we were cutting back sewer and wells and everything else is still so high.
Yeah.
I'm just really wondering, I mean, what's driving the cost? I mean, there's gotta be one certain area. I mean, materials can't be 100,000 for material.
Yeah.
But to build it,
Honestly,
um,
give it 200,000.
yeah.
I mean, a lot of it's in the earthwork and the paving and
I thought we
which
were,
we
I
pulled
thought,
out.
yeah, we pulled out the paving, and we're still at
And we're still at
$1.5
$1 million. No, we're not at $1.5 million, we're at $1 million.
Wow.
Well, what would you build it
I
for?
couldn't even imagine.
Well, I mean, I'd like to see the numbers, I mean, I'm just curious, I mean, if the earthwork is half the cost or a third of the cost, I mean. We know that's expensive, I mean, just getting material to this island, I mean,
But what does it need?
that's what I'm not sure, is there
I mean, it's,
500 yards, or is it 10, 1,000
Yeah, I would
yards?
Spell that out here.
Right, so I mean, they probably haven't fine tuned it yet, but by the end of the week, we should know some more fine tuning, right?
And those are good soils up there, I mean, that's.
It's all ledge, there's nothing left. They gotta build
Dig it all
up to get drainage away, I believe.
He went 10 feet.
I thought it was ledge for some reason, maybe it was ledge rock or something, because they used to process up there, right?
Yeah. With the
But
gravel.
I know that does get wet when it rains, the water does build up in that area, so I mean, you probably are building the whole area up to a certain degree. Not that you couldn't drain it, because there's good ditches,
Yeah.
I mean, so. I don't know, I just like to see, I'm just curious what's costing us, what's driving that small building,
Well, I mean, the timing,
I mean,
I'm gonna just try to, I guess, make it clear how we got in this jam, because we can't provide you with it because we don't have it, but we will soon. But we can't wait until we get those numbers, because
Right.
we've got it
The
set
building.
it up to take it to the town. And, when we take it to the town, we will have those numbers. But we're making a decision based on the fact that it's still going to be more. We're not making a decision based on, where the contractors are overbidding us, and, you know.
yeah, I mean, it doesn't, I mean, if we save $1 million after,
Yeah.
so be it, and then the money gets returned,
Yeah.
and that's no big
Exactly.
deal, but I mean, like you said, we gotta go in.
But-
With a total number that's going to cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, even maybe a little more than
Yeah.
that, just because.
It's down to just the two questions, yes or no.
Yeah,
Yeah, because of the complication of the funding of the.
Well, but we'll figure that out tomorrow. I think I
yeah.
can work with Linda, or I can talk with the attorney and.
So I think we have the motion from this committee to take it to the select board, that it's the whole project or nothing at all. That's what I'm hearing is,
I don't know if there's a choice.
No, that's what I think, there's no choice, I don't like it, but I don't. think-
I mean, I'd rather see it broke apart,
Yeah.
but I don't think we have time to try to break it apart.
if it can be broken apart, it's on the select board.
If it's broken apart, it's happening next year.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt about that. It's not gonna happen this year. You try to break it apart, I think, and figure all the numbers and talk to all the people. I mean, that's my feeling.
How many donors are there?
Over 200, between 200, about 225.
What do you think it would be, how would it be taken if a letter went to them and said, explain the pickle we're in, and saying that we are only be using your money for the health center and not an up island, at this point, and not an up island garage?
I think it's very tough to do.
Yeah, I think you open a can of worms, because, I mean, we lose 200,000 or, 300,000, then all of a sudden we have match monies, and now, I mean, you're just gonna open.
Yeah. Just a question.
Yep, and we're still, I mean, we have pledges out. We don't have all that money in hand. There's pledges still that are
Yeah.
coming in, some this year, I think, and some in 24, correct? A
Speaking-
couple. Well,
Are there pledges still coming in?
There are pledges still
Yeah.
coming in.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
Yeah.
I've worked on that today.
oh.
And they're still coming in on time, and we've had nobody renege or anything. And we know when the money will be there.
Getting simpler.
Okay, and 2020 hindsight, if we had been slower as a committee, maybe we'd be doing everything in spring. And maybe we'd have not this crunch of time. But we're here, it is what it is, and I wish I were somewhere else. No.
We're going to LA.
Going to LA.
What's the number?
We don't know the number.
Okay, let's say we know a number. What is it? 1.5 to 2?
Or two.
What?
Two. 1.5 million more or 2
2
million?
million more?
Yeah.
Now, when we're raising money, that's to pay all the interest back too, on the bond?
We haven't taken out a bond.
But
No, but once you
No.
do,
No,
Are
that
we
would
paying
be
this construction
taxpayers.
cost?
so the interest on the bonds,
it's gotta come out.
Yeah,
it comes out of the taxpayers. So do we have to
20 years or whatever.
But we don't, that's not a part of raising the money,
No,
the two we need, so that's above and beyond whatever we're paying in interest. So when you say your taxes only go up 150,000, that's for the money that borrowed, that's not on the interest. So you don't, you're only getting half. Okay, I just wasn't sure on that.
because every year you'll have a payment like the Connecticut Center and like broadband, there's a payment and then there's a interest portion.
And it's part of your yearly bill, tax bill.
Yeah.
Right, but that's not figured in when you said the percentage that it's gonna cost taxpayers, because it's above and beyond that.
That's right.
All right, I think we have the motion somewhere in the midst of this, can you read it back?
Good luck.
I take that entirely back. The motion is that this committee recommends to the select board that we take to the taxpayers a decision of all. Increase the
Commitment.
request, the commitment for the entire project, the number of which we will get on November 1st. Or we pull the plug in the entire project. Is that close enough?
I think so. And the select board can't say pull the product, they can't make any decision.
No.
Only town.
No.
We will have to refine that,
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you got.
pull the plug.
Instead of pull the plug. That,
That's not correct.
if the select board, basically, we're recommending that they take to the town the question of funding completely the project. Then they can refine that any way they want, but we can say that's our recommendation. We don't have to add in. Pull the plug.
Do they
Yeah, the
go-
negative.
They're gonna have all our minutes, right, to read before the meeting?
I'll eliminate pull the plug.
Thank you.
But I mean, they will, before the meeting,
They can have the minutes.
will they be ready yet then? I mean,
Oh, minutes from tonight?
yeah. I mean, it's just-
January, you read the minutes?
I'm just thinking the board,
That's on Jennifer.
what's that?
They may have, I'm not sure if they'll get around to reading.
Yeah.
But I'm just, I mean,
Bullets.
feel like the board should have been
I'm on
almost
the
in
select
on,
board,
I know,
I'll be
but
telling
I
you.
feel like the whole.
Lauren
but I
is
feel
here.
like- I feel like the whole board should have been, you know, kind of in on this meeting.
Oh, they've already heard a lot of this from
They
me.
have,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, every single member of the select board has the bad news. That this budget is going over. They still don't have a number because we don't have a number.
Right.
They will have a number.
I mean, we have an idea, but we don't have.
So they're probably not gonna make any
No, they
decision
can't, because they have
Wednesday night.
no basis.
They can't make a decision probably, and
They can make a decision that we need a town meeting.
Yes, that's what we want.
Yeah.
And maybe can there be a number, what it's cost us if we pull the plug?
what we spent to date.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can.
And there'd be nothing, if we pulled the plug, sorry for using that word, pull the plug, that's phrase.
Who started that?
I did. Bad
But,
on me.
there'd be no additional cost, you know, other than the architect right now. We're not indebted to Callahan or just the architect,
That's
right?
That's
Yeah.
right.
For all the labor they put in, they'd be out of luck.
I think so. I remember we had discussed something about some sort of payment if things didn't go forward, but I don't remember where that.
Does Mark have that, or?
Mark, do you know if we will owe H.E. Callahan something? If they vote to stop the project?
And you're muted.
Sorry, yes, per AIA contracts, that they would sign with you, they are allowed to be compensated for pre-construction services. And it's basically an hour rate that's established. However, given that their contract is not signed, it's a point of discussion.
Yeah.
In good faith,
Yeah.
they have spent time on this and should be compensated for time.
You, I wonder what number that would be. I guess you'd have to go on a percentage or.
It's hourly rate.
Yeah, you've got the,
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they've definitely done they're doing their work. I mean, it's not their, it's not their fault. that
That's
the
right.
Prices are.
I don't think it would be a large number or some, but to be fair, I think they should be compensated.
I think it's a number we should have at the
Yeah.
town meeting,
Or before, I mean, we should.
or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, if someone from the audience was gonna ask that, it's not me.
Do we need to vote on this motion then?
What?
However, we're recommending to the select board that they request
A town meeting.
at
I
a
mean,
town meeting that there be, that we fund the entire project.
That's the recommendation from this board.
Yeah. Do I have a second to that motion?
Second.
Linda seconds it. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Who we have to vote for, but I can say aye.
Yeah.
Okay, it's
It's up
unanimous.
to the board next, I mean,
Yeah.
select board, but within the town.
Kick it to the select board, I say.
Kick that down the road, sound like Washington.
Okay, now we're in the, public questions and comments. I know we've allowed that already, but I want to make sure everybody has a chance to say anything they want to add. I can see, Robert, do you want to add anything, to your other, earlier comments?
Thank you for the opportunity. I believe you've reached the conclusion I would recommend taking to the select board.
Thank you very much. Fred or Taz?
I have no comment.
Yeah, or is that Taz or Sue? I think you're muted if you're trying.
It's Taz, I was on mute. I'm in favor of going to the select board.
Thank you very much. Can you tell me, Carrie, who else is up there?
Linda.
Linda Kniebel or Jack, did you want to have a comment? You're muted.
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you, Linda. And I don't see anybody else up there. All right, I think we're ready to adjourn. Thank you all, and I have to say, I'm so sorry to see the bearer of.
You're not.
Not a big
No.
surprise, but. Thank you, everybody, for all your help. For being here, Mike, did you have, or Pressica, did you have a comment?
Pretty low.
Thank you, everyone. It's adjourned.